All right, next up, frames. We got a couple of interesting frames this month. Blunty, where should we start?
First up, we'll take a look at Botgrinder's new frame. Botgrinder has the Demibot frame out now with this cool arm design, his cool protectors when you crash. Pretty neat stuff.
You mean these little spikes on the end are the motor protectors? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice flair to the design.
Very much so. Designed by Umagod, and Umagod, of course, makes good frames as well. At the end of the day, it looks like this is a super chonky school bus style frame. Top plate, bottom plate. Does it have a split deck design? I'm having a little trouble seeing from the picture. It does have a split deck design. So room in the front for the camera, but then a higher back deck to give you a little bit more centralized weight and durability. That's good. I like a split deck design. And everything is super chunky, so you can beat the crap out of it in a bando and not have it break. Does that basically sum it up?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, let's see. 3mm plates. All the frame plates are 3mm and the arms are 6mm. Somewhere out there, Chris Rosser is saying, but what about the resonance? And Botgrinder is saying, I don't care. It's pretty solid. How much is it? It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. I guess there's a lot of carbon in it. $90. $90. You gotta really want that for $90.
A lot of carbon in my Source One V3 too.
Yeah, does it have 6mm arms? Like the Impulse RC Apex. $10 more for an Impulse RC Apex. Comes with a warranty. Oh, that's the Apex HD. That's tough. That's tough.
I mean, I've been a long proponent of there's no point in buying an expensive frame. So
yeah,
I would never buy this. So personally. But I understand why people would.
It wouldn't be fair if I didn't look at my own frame. $70 for my frame. Too expensive for you, I know. It doesn't have 6mm arms. It's definitely not a bando basher.
Yeah.
That's tough. I think that this is, I think there's a lot to be said for, I mean, one of the things you could say about frames is how much room is there really to innovate. These designs are refined to a point where the best you can do in a lot of ways is just repeat that successful principles and get out of the way and not screw it up too much. So to say this is, a big chunky school bus frame is not really a criticism. Obviously people want to support Botgrinder, and that's what it is. I think $90 for this style of frame is asking a lot compared to some of the other stuff that's out there.
I'll say the same thing I do every time. Go buy a cheaper frame and donate money to Botgrinder.
That's what we said that about the slat motors. It's like, if you want to buy a pilot's motor to support them, that's fine. You're just putting money in their pocket, and that's valid. You could also, by the time I'm paying $90 or $100 for a frame, I really think you have some very, very compelling options that
unless they're getting wrecked, the markup is like 100% there. You know what I mean? And that's where like my issue comes in. Because like I know what it costs to cut carbon. I've talked to multiple people who cut frames in China and other places. Like I know what prices are. Unless you're getting wrecked and you're shopping somewhere that's crazy, you're paying too much if you have to charge $90 for a frame.
The counter argument is that you got to pay for the design time. You're not just paying for the carbon. You're paying for Umagod to design and Botgrinder to test.
But that means that this has to be that much better than every other frame. That means you have to pay for the design for a reason. Just because you spent time on a design does not validate it. It just means you spent time on a design. I can spend 40 hours designing something tomorrow. It doesn't mean you have to pay money for it if it's not better than everything else.
Right. So the Apex comes out. The Apex was not the very first split deck frame. I think that was the Reverb, but someone will remember. If you know a frame that used the split deck design before the Reverb, put it in the comments. Haha, engagement. But you look at the Apex and you compare it to the frames that were out there at the time the Apex came out, and I think it's fair to say that was a leap forward. And now many of the things that the Apex and sort of introduced to the public consciousness, like the split deck design, it's like, okay, we got that. That's in our that's in our toolbox. And we go, okay, I'm going to design a frame. Is it going to be a split deck? I don't have to invent that from scratch. At which point you look at something like this and go, how much went in there and how much is it worth to me?
And again, it's a question of like, I don't doubt they spent time designing it.
Mm-hmm.
I just question what that time was spent on and whether it was worth the value that you're spending on this frame. I think that's the problem for me. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't question that anybody spent time or spent any work or tried or did anything. But the difference is the cost. If you're talking cost of carbon versus cost of design, you're asking me to spend money on design. When I look at this frame, I do not see some magical new design thing that costs $60 extra or $40 extra or whatever number you think it costs.
Especially because a frame like the Apex is going to come with a warranty. Because I think it's a 2-year one replacement. That's at least one replacement, one full replacement of the frame. So you spend $110 on the Apex, and you're basically getting 2 Apexes for the price if you break it. And by the way, my frame also doesn't come with a warranty. That makes you buy the Apex instead of my frame. More power to you. Like I don't want anybody to think I'm being unfair here.
You can get 3 Source Ones for that price.
There you go. But not with 6. Somewhere out there, someone's got a 6mm arm for the Source One. I mean, it's open source, so
for sure.
All right.